That's right, 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Orange and blue today. Cecil Lammey, hope to be joined by Andrew Mason. Mace is at the Super Bowl, and he is at a Zebra Technologies press conference, and he's waiting for Sean Payton, who is supposed to be there at the Super Bowl press conference for Zebra Technologies. Zebra Technologies, a GPS data collecting service. You've seen them at the Senior Bowl, where they're, put the little GPS trackers on players and they'll time them. Basically, it's how we know Luke Musgrave was the fastest time tight end at the Senior Bowl, is from Zebra Technology. So Sean Payton probably getting a little scratch for going up there talking about Zebra Technologies. And well, Andrew Mason is on the case. Mace is on the case, but I'm Cecil Lammey, all up in your face, I guess. I don't know. I'm just glad Sean Payton's here. I'm glad that part of the offseason is over. And now it's on to what do you do with your free agency? Now it's on to what do you do in your draft with your mid-round picks? Like, there's so many things for this Denver Broncos thing to continue to change. Like, it's just good to get that head coach one out of the way. Like, for too long, and we waited too long. And I like the way that Greg Penner's certainly a smart businessman. Now, I'm not breaking any news by saying that because he's a bazillionaire. But I like the way he said, I appreciate the fans' patience because this took a little longer than we'd wanted. The added compensation for that is one of the hangups for Sean Payton. Sean Payton, whether people say it's the first choice or whatever, they really wanted Jim Harbaugh and they really wanted Sean Payton. And they were able to get one of their top two choices. The D'Amico Ryans thing is shrouded in mystery. Whatever. I don't care about any of that. I care that Sean Payton is here for the Denver Broncos. And I care that they now have a new direction, a new path and a plan, plan and a path. They have that with Sean Payton. And I, for one, welcome that because I believe it's going to be a winning football recipe that's already built. They already got half of it done. Actually, if you look at this team, there's probably 70% of it that's mostly done. And that's granted if Javonte Williams is healthy. If Javonte Williams is not healthy, then I think you go to Latavius Murray as your starter. You have to re-sign him, of course, but Latavius is not going to cost a bunch of money. And running backs don't last forever anyway. When, Nathaniel Hackett, the less that I say Nathaniel Hackett in my day-to-day life, the happier I am because everything was so wrong with Nathaniel Hackett. But when Nathaniel Hackett would say, well, we don't want to run him into the ground. He's an older guy. And like, I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, he was giving excuses as to not give Latavius Murray 20 carries, 25 touches, whatever the number was. Jerry Rosberg came in there. He's like, whatever, run him into the ground. Yeah, that's what you do with running backs. Sorry. What's the old song? Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Hey, mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be running backs because they're not going to play very long. And they're going to get beat up. And that's just the nature of the position. And it's totally wrong or whatever. Like, yeah, use them up. Use them up. Javonte Williams, use him up. He's my number one running back when he came out a couple of years ago. We've barely been able to see him. One, because of the stupid running back by committee with Melvin Gordon. That was just dumb. It was the dumbest idea ever to spend that sort of draft capital on that guy, who is Nick Chubb, by the way. And I say that with incredibly high praise because I feel that Nick Chubb is the best running back in today's NFL. And Nick Chubb keeps Kareem Hunt to a backup role. Kareem Hunt led the league in rushing his rookie season. Kareem Hunt could start for 30 teams in the league, 25 teams, whatever the number is. Like, Kareem Hunt is a damn good running back, and his ass is riding the pine because Nick Chubb is that good. Well, with Javonte Williams, they should have had him be the lead rusher for 2 years, basically. I know he got hurt last year, but the Gordon thing's just dumb. Like, get that out of the way and whatever, move on from that. And the chat room's all over it. Joe saying, Gordon was Hackett's boy, so he had to start. Like, the further we get away from Nathaniel Hackett, the better things are for the Denver Broncos because it was just so wrong. Everything was so wrong. It was so wrong in the way that they used Javonte Williams. It was so wrong in the plan that they had for Russell Wilson. It was so wrong when Nathaniel Hackett wouldn't have a backbone and stand up to Russell Wilson when Wilson rightfully had questions. So many misconceptions, too many questions, so many misconceptions about Russell Wilson. And yes, I randomly quote Batman movies from time to time, but Russell Wilson was fair to have questions. He's a veteran. He's a Super Bowl champion. You have to tell him the why. You can't just do like Nathaniel Hackett and be like, it's okay, Russ. Whatever you want, Russ. Are you okay, Russ? How's Sierra, Russ? Like, it was weird. It's weird. Like, it's odd. It's incredibly odd that Nathaniel Hackett would basically genuflect to his quarterback like that and not bow up and be like, we're doing it because of this. If you tell Russ the why, he's going to say, yes, sir, no, sir, right away, sir. He's going to have questions. I'm not against him having questions. He should have questions. If he didn't have questions, then you have a dumb quarterback, and you don't want a dumb quarterback. Russell Wilson is a smart quarterback. He's going to ask questions, answer the questions, tell him the why, set it up, and knock it down. That's the plan from head coach to quarterback, and that's what Sean Payton's going to do. Sean Payton is going to set it up so that Russell Wilson knocks it down. I'm going to learn how to swallow correctly when I'm trying to slam coffee before the show. I'll have some more just in case. But I look at this now and I go, Sean Payton's the stronger personality. And Russell Wilson's going to ask questions, and I'm fine with that. But he's going to listen, and Sean Payton's going to tell him what to do. And the plan that they have in place, I believe that the Sean Payton plan, got to slow down when I say that. I believe that the Sean Payton plan includes a ton of running, a lot of running. Now they need to find their Alvin Kamara because Javonte Williams, God bless him, love him, don't know if he's going to be the same ever again. I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I happen to like this thing called reality. And the reality of the situation is Javonte Williams has multiple problems with that knee that had to be repaired. And it might be a year and a half. It might be 2 years before we ever see him be the same again. And by that time, he's not a Denver Bronco. Again, running backs, you use them up. So should the Broncos be interested in a cheap free agent running back? Sure, Latavius Murray. Should the Broncos rework Chase Edmonds' deal? Yes. He's got zero in dead money. He's got no leverage. So Chase Edmonds could be an Alvin Kamara type. And I understand that Chase Edmonds is like the ultimate tease. Trust me, I've heard from enough Dolphins people. As I've stated before on this show, I'm close to that team. And they're like, oh, get ready to get burned, right? Because Chase Edmonds will flash like, oh my God, the dude's incredible. And then he won't do anything. So does Chase Edmonds rework his deal? Yes. To stick around? Yes. If I'm the Broncos, I do that all day. I bring back Latavius Murray. This is easy math. Okay? Life is complicated. Football is complicated. But in life and in football, there's easy math. And the better you do at the easy math, the smoother your life and your football team will be. I'm dropping knowledge here, everybody. Actually, I'm getting crunchy on you, but that's okay. I do love Boulder. I will say this, like, you have to make sure if it's simple, you do it. Don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple, stupid. Isn't that the old saying? Like, the simple thing is keep Latavius Murray, rework Chase Edmonds. Javonte will be on PUP to start training camp. That's my guess. No inside information. It's February 8th, everybody. We're not going to know this. And I always love the people that guess stuff like this. Like, yes, I would guess that by training camp, Javonte will be on the PUP to start camp and then hopefully be able to participate. I don't think Javonte will participate in the preseason whatsoever. And then the hope is that he's ready for week one. But if he does not go on PUP at the start of training camp, he cannot go on PUP at the beginning of the regular season. And I think he may need to go on physically unable to perform list at the beginning of the regular season. That means Javonte Williams, halfway through this season, maybe he's out there. Until then, you have to have other plans. You can't just sit here blindly and be like, he's going to be fine. Like, no, not at all. And at that position, the way you get beat up at that position, you better have other plans. You're Javonte Williams. He avoids no contact whatsoever. He, in fact, if I had one ding on him, and he was my number one running back that year when he came out. And trust me, I talk plenty about my misses and my hits. So this isn't me up here bragging every day about Tariq Woolen or whatever. Like, I learn more from my misses. When Tariq Woolen hits, I just go, yeah. When Javonte Williams hits, I go, uh-huh. But when somebody misses, that's when I go, what the hell did I miss? Why did I miss? What's going on? What did this player not do? What did he do? Like, what are the reasonings why? Because the physical skill is easy to see. It's one of the reasons why I think that college football analysts are much different from draft analysts. Incredibly different. I know he hates me, but I'll bring him up anyway. Joel Klatt. I think Joel Klatt is the best college football analyst, hands down. Don't think he's a draft analyst. It's two different things. It's two different skill sets. So now if you're the Denver Broncos, you look at it and you go, okay, what can we do at the running back position to find Alvin Kamara? What can we do to find Andrew Mason? Where in the world is Andrew Mason? We already know the answer. He's in Arizona in the Super Bowl. Hi, Mace.
Hi. And yet another background that shows that I could be anywhere, right? In any conference center in the Western world, basically. But no, I'm here. I'm at the Phoenix Convention Center. I was just checking in on a press conference for Zebra Technologies, which does a lot of the tracking and measurements of players in games and practices. Sean Payton was scheduled to be there, so I figured I better just check and see if he's there. He wasn't. So,
okay. Did they ever give a reasoning why that he pulled out? I imagine it's because he's head coach of the Broncos now.
Yeah, he's got a few things to do with putting together a staff. Although he's going to be working for Fox over the weekend. He's going to be doing stuff in relation to Fox's Super Bowl broadcast, pregame and in-game. But staff, because it's one of those things you got to work fast and furious.
Yeah, fast and furious is what we're doing. And Mace, hopefully it's not too choppy on your end. It's a little choppy from Phoenix, but we'll continue on because you've been talking to a lot of people down there at the Super Bowl about Sean Payton. And we've mentioned some of the types. You have, in fact, talked about that as well. I'll go ahead and let Mace internet catch up there down in Phoenix. But the thing is, like, you hear, and I saw the Terry Bradshaw thing. Should I be nice or should I not be nice? Like, Terry Bradshaw needs to stop because there was extra Terry Bradshaw stuff. Did you see that, Mace, where Terry was like, he took the job in spite of Russell Wilson? I'm like,
yes,
no, Terry,
that
no.
Right before I got there, because I was working my way around the Fox Sports press conference yesterday. Okay. And so there's some more to come because I talked not only with Terry Bradshaw and Jay Glazer, but also with Jimmy Johnson, who actually he's interesting to talk to because Sean Payton is trying to do something similar to what Jimmy Johnson tried to do back in the 90s. Jimmy had a couple of years off. Sean Payton had 1 year off, but both went to broadcasting and both tried to recapture the magic. And in both cases, with a quarterback getting toward the back end of his career. Of course, Jimmy Johnson had Dan Marino in Miami, and now Sean Payton has Russell Wilson. Jimmy Johnson did not do a bad job in Miami. They didn't have a losing season. They had 3 playoff appearances. By all accounts, a pretty good run. But considering the expectation was you have Dan Marino, get Dan Marino back to a Super Bowl, his time is not regarded as a success. And so I think that's kind of instructive to look at with Sean Payton. So I talked with Jimmy about that. Talked with Howie Long as well about Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. And also there'll be a story coming up on denversports.com later in the week. Talk with both Kurt Menefee and Carissa Thompson, who hosted the shows that Sean Payton was a part of. And they attest to Sean Payton's work ethic, even in broadcasting, let alone coaching. The picture that you get from them is of somebody who didn't see that drive go away in his year in broadcasting. And a type A personality like that probably needs to be coaching rather than broadcasting. So that's why I missed the other nugget from Terry Bradshaw,
right?
Which was where he talked about, where he said that, Payton took the job in spite of Russell Wilson.
I think that's a little of Terry's opinion more so than Sean being like, I'm taking this job even though Russell Wilson stinks. Like, that's just me, Mace. I'm bitter about Terry Bradshaw, though, from a book signing at the Brighton Walmart from years ago. But anyway.
Here's the thing on Terry Bradshaw that I'll say. I think what he probably meant to say was that because quarterback was brought up in the discussion. But what I think we know is that a big part of Sean Payton taking this job was ownership more than quarterback. I would say that even though he probably does believe that he can get something out of Russell Wilson, the primary reason why he chose Denver was because of the Walton Penner Group and the understanding that everything he asks for that he believes is going to help the team have a better chance of winning, he's going to get. Money is no object. Jay Glazer, who's known Sean Payton for over 20 years, told me yesterday that when Payton went to New Orleans, he kind of had to show them how to win. Now, Payton, he'd been to a Super Bowl with the Giants as an assistant coach. He'd worked under Bill Parcells. He had an idea what it took to succeed, something that for an organization like the Saints, which had precisely one postseason win in its first 39 years of existence before Sean Payton showed up, Saints didn't know how to win. Now, Broncos ownership, they're learning how to be NFL owners and they're learning how to win. But they've already grasped a big part of it, and that is that you cannot skimp on resources. You've got to provide the material. You don't want to be one of those owners that when a coach says, "Hey, I need new technology for VR for the QBs. I need new blocking sleds. We need a bigger plane for our trips." You don't want to be an owner that says, maybe, I don't know. You want to be an owner that says yes. Walton Penner Group has the capital to say yes to everything that Sean Payton's going to ask for. I think that's a big part of why he took the job.
Yeah, and I love the fact that I get the feeling from Greg Penner and just the Walton Penner ownership group, Mace, is like they're going to give you what you need, and they're going to trust you to do your job. Not to steal a Josh McDaniels line, but they're not going to be like overseeing or glomming on like a young Arthur Blank or like Jerry Jones does or a young Daniel Snyder. Like I think this ownership group, like we're going to find. This is what I know about the Walton Penner Group. They find who the best is, they hire the best, and then they give them the resources to let them do their job. And I think it's that last part that's very key because Sean Payton's not going to have anyone necessarily in his way. He's going to have people propping and helping him up.
He will. And they trust Sean Payton to take care of business. Everyone was all, Twitter about Greg Penner playing golf last week. Greg Penner could do that because he had somebody he trusted to mind the store. He trusts Sean Payton. On the business side, he trusts Damani Leach, who came from the league office. You've got people there who know what they're doing. So Greg Penner can kind of go off and he can do that. I mean, every so often, Penner's going to have to give a speech to shareholders of Walmart, right? Well, when he does that, no problem. Sean's got this covered. The building's not going to collapse. It's going to function just fine with Sean Payton there minding the store. And that's something that I think you could not say about Nathaniel Hackett. You can say that about Sean Payton because he knows what he's doing as a head coach.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to be coasting either. Like if Greg Penner has to go somewhere, somebody's not right over the building, like Sean Payton's going to be in there. And it's more than just being there. Like, God bless Justin Otten. I hope Justin Otten was able to go home. But when he was like, I haven't started my car in 3 weeks, like, it's not about that. It's not just about being there. And I'm sure Otten was putting in the work. But, like, Sean Payton will know where to put his energy, how much of that energy to give, and then have other people. I mean, he's going to be a great delegator as well. He's going to do the same thing the Walton Penner Group's going to do to him. Find people he can trust, let him get to work.
Yeah. And let him work smarter rather than work harder. Like when you hear about Justin Outen saying he hasn't started his car in a week, that's a cry for help, right? I mean, there are studies that show that if you sacrifice sleep over the course of 5 days, if you get 5 hours of sleep a night instead of 7 hours of sleep, by the end of the week, it's like you've had 2 drinks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, by the way, that's going to be a problem if you've had that sort of effect on your quickness of thought and your judgment, because when you're a coach, you're working with your mind, right? So that's why and then Jose reiterates that work smarter, not harder. Exactly. The funny thing is, I remember when I worked for the Broncos seats, and you'd go in the cafeteria and they'd have kind of health messages that would flash on the flat screens in the cafeteria. And one of them that often came up was about the value of sleep, telling the players to get sleep. It's your recovery fuel. Get your 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And I thought to myself, they have these messages in the cafeteria, but there are too many people in this organization who aren't heeding them, right? I mean, especially on the coaching and football operations side, because they do believe in the kind of that by working that 81st hour in a week, that somehow it's going to make a difference. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And that's hopefully what we'll see from this Broncos staff is working smarter and not necessarily harder, because
working efficiently, right?
Work.
Yeah, work efficiently. And I think that's where Sean Payton, as an older man, that's part of the wisdom you get when it's not just the gray hairs, like you get wisdom of where to put your energy into. And we got a few of those, Mace, but like Sean Payton knows that, and he'll know what to do. Any negative responses, because it seems like every response you've had with Sean Payton has been incredibly positive. You and I were just at the Shrine Bowl and the Senior Bowl. Obviously, he was hired during the Senior, not the Shrine. I didn't hear a bad word about Sean Payton from any of my contacts in the league. What about you?
Didn't hear a bad thing. General sense is that he's going to get things cleaned up in Denver, that they've had a lot of nonsense going on, and he's going to fix that. That being said, the question is, as good a quarterback guru as he is, what is he going to get out of Russell Wilson? And that's the key thing here. I mean, that's why I'm in the midst of all this. The Broncos didn't cross the bridge that I felt they shouldn't cross it. You can't give up 2 first-round picks, because you know something? They might need that to go get a quarterback. Now, what's interesting, Cease, and I'll probably write about this at denversports.com, if you look at Sean Payton's history in the NFL, especially since he became an offensive coordinator with the Giants back in 2000, it's veteran quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Kerry Collins with the Giants. It's going to Dallas, and when he got to Dallas, he had Quincy Carter for a year, I believe, and then he had Drew Bledsoe. And then he gets to New Orleans, and they sign Sean Payton. So Payton has, as a play caller, hasn't really developed a quarterback in quite a while, but he's had veterans. And so I think that should encourage you for Russell Wilson. But I do also wonder what happens if Wilson doesn't work out this year and they have to go in a different direction, because Payton seems to have much more success with young guys, although it must be said that even though Tony Romo didn't really play under Sean Payton's watch, he developed under Sean Payton's watch.
Yes, it's been years there on their roster.
They were together for 3 years for Tony Romo and Sean Payton. And even though Payton never called a play for Tony Romo, Romo is very much a Sean Payton quarterback, which also then says, all right, here's somebody who's had success with mid to late round guys. And that brings you back into, do you take a quarterback in the middle to late rounds if one falls? Are we talking about a value acquisition? Are you talking about maybe a Jay Kaner out of Fresno State in the 4th or 5th round, perhaps, who had some flashes down in Mobile last week?
That's MVP.
And he was like, it was a shaky quarterback group in Mobile, no doubt, very shaky. On balance, he was the best quarterback there, at least the best healthy quarterback. The best quarterback in Mobile was Hendon Hooker, but he's recovering from a torn ACL. Best healthy quarterback there was Jay Kaner, and not great in the measurables, but he's got a funky delivery, but he's got some mobility. Looks good when he's rolling out, and is right at 6 feet, which, as you know, for Sean Payton, no big deal, right?
That's fine.
Yeah. So I could see Sean Payton, instead when we talk about first round pick for next year, but I could see Payton finding his mid-round quarterback this year, seeing where he goes, and taking on a developmental project to be the escape route if Russell Wilson can't get it together.
Yeah, and I hope Jim Nagy's not listening, but I think the Shrine quarterbacks were better this year. It wasn't great in Mobile, but Aiden O'Connell, guess who hit me up last night, texting me feverishly. I need khaki pants guys. Who do I talk about, Cecil? Mike Evans. And I was like, just talk about Aiden O'Connell. Talk about Hayner. Talk about Aiden O'Connell. I did give him Jaron Hall to chew on, even though Hall did not.
Are we counting Hendon Hooker as khaki pants? Or are we saying he's not khaki pants because he could have been a first rounder?
I think this is where I always thought DMAC was right, because it's misevaluation. Kirk Cousins shouldn't have been a mid-round pick. Dak Prescott shouldn't have been a mid-round pick. Tom Brady shouldn't have been a sixth-round pick. So yes, they are technically khaki pants, but I think Hooker is one of those guys we can look at with first-round talent who might just fall because of injuries.
Because I would say on Tom Brady, with all respect to what he was, he should have gone higher, yes, but not first-round higher. So I think Tom Brady ends up being very much khaki pants. Russell Wilson, as flawed as last season was, Russell Wilson, if he comes out of Wisconsin today, is a first-round pick.
Yes.
In 2012, he was not. Nobody had gone through the wall of taking a short quarterback early. That's out of the discussion now. Kyler Murray broke through that glass ceiling back in 19, and even though he's taller than Kyler Murray, we're going to see, Bryce Young go very high, and I don't think he's going to measure much above 6 feet this year.
No.
Okay. That's done. That's completely done. And so Russell Wilson today would not be khaki pants quarterback. Russell Wilson today would be a top 10 pick.
Yep.
Based on his skill set, based on his athleticism, based on all his attributes. If he had done that at Wisconsin last year, top 10, maybe even top 5.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that's the thing, and that's why the khaki pants discussion is always interesting, because was Drew Lock a khaki pants quarterback? Because a lot of people thought he could be a first rounder.
I always said he'd be a top 10 pick. He had 10 and he traded out of it.
They passed on Drew Lock.
He couldn't help himself. Yeah.
Actually, 3 times, because they traded down from 10. At 20, they picked Noah Fant. And then the first pick of the second round, they picked Dalton Risner.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Oh, man.
I
just couldn't help himself.
We're about to have the DMAC discussion here. If you really love the quarterback, you take him early, right? I mean, hey, if you can get the quarterback later, you take him later. It's the roll of the dice.
And you take one every year and you just roll them over. Hey, it didn't work out. Next.
If you like Aiden O'Connell or Jake Hayner, you know something? You can probably get them early on day 3.
Oh, yeah.
This year's draft. You can probably get them in round 4, walk away, and be happy. Although I still would have taken Sam Howell once he fell to round 4. With all respect to Eni Iwazurike, I would have taken him.
He's now been designated as the starter. Ron Rivera said that today. He's going to be week 1 starter. He took a 5th rounder that played 1 game. That's because Sam Howell can play.
Yes, and the thing is, everybody got so caught up in the numbers from his 2021 season that too many people didn't bother to ask themselves why the numbers were down. That you took away his receivers, you took away 2 running backs. The offensive line wasn't the same, and what you should have looked at is Sam Howell was adjusting and getting better and helping his younger teammates along in that season. And B, Sam Howell passed every character test, because even as he was getting besieged, under heavy rush week after week, that wasn't on him. They had issues up front. He never pointed fingers. He never complained. And that showed he had leadership material. We already saw it. We saw the physical tools. We saw the arm talent. We saw the ability to read defenses. Then we saw the leadership, even though his numbers were off in 2021. And it's why I still kept saying in the offseason, I would take Sam Howell. I mean, I would have taken him a lot higher than the 5th round. But to me, the Broncos, once they got Russell Wilson, they weren't going to pick a quarterback early. But yeah, they should have probably picked him in round 4.
Yep.
And then that would have made this offseason discussion interesting, because I think Howell would have been the backup. We would have seen 2 games from him in place of an injured Russell Wilson last year. And who knows what we'd be thinking. Howell would have made this whole offseason so much spicier.
Right.
And it's already spicy. I mean, it might have been too spicy to handle if Sam Howell were in the
Too hot. Too hot down in Arizona. Watch out for that spicy food, buddy. You're traveling. There's nothing worse than an upset stomach when you're on the road and you're just like, damn it.
If I get in Mexican food, it's going to be tonight because I'm still about 48 hours away from getting on a plane again to start vacation. So,
Okay, clear it out, baby. Clear it out.
Yeah, it's funny. This morning at the press conference that he had, Andy Reid waxed poetic about the virtues of the chili relleno burrito. I have been thinking about a chili relleno burrito all day. I'm looking for the best chili relleno burrito that I can find here between here and Tempe, maybe even as far afield as Scottsdale. And maybe I'll give that a shot. But Tom says, be careful. It's spicy. Yeah. And we're not talking about faux spicy like the Danger Witch. Yeah, it can be
spicy.
It's spicy. By the way, Danger Witch wasn't that bad. It just wasn't spicy, but it wasn't that bad. Yeah. I prefer the Trevor Lawrence Sunshine Sub, but I'm a turkey
guy. You're a turkey and I'm a ham. So there we go. We make up orange and blue today. Andrew Mason live
in every way.
I try. I definitely try. I'm Cecil Lammey. Appreciate everyone for watching here at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time every single day, Monday through Friday. He's Mace. I'm Cease. Be safe. Be kind. Know that you're appreciated. Stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.